Gun control, the Second Amendment under attack. Time magazine must be working for the Nazis because they said that the people won and you get to keep your guns. This is not true. Your guns will be taken from you very soon. They said the same thing just before the Patriot Act was passed. This is how they sneak up on you. How long has the Patriot Act been in effect? Over a decade now. It's a piece of constitutional garbage. It defies the Constitution and takes away the Bill of Rights. This Second Amendment will be removed because we have a treasonous, worthless, betraying Congress, which is obsolete to the people. Congress might still be useful to the slave masters who are going to take away your guns, and I expect that Congress will have a role in eliminating the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. You know, in order to change the Constitution, we're supposed to have a vote of 2/3 of Congress. But that has been ignored for the Federal Reserve law and the IRS law. And I expect that it will be ignored on this Second Amendment removal. Do you think that they're going to get the votes necessary to remove this amendment to the Constitution? They can control anyone in Congress. That's their business. People feel it, and gun sales are brisk, to say the least. Look at the prices on these weapons. When someone pays $4,000 for a gun, nobody's going to take that gun. Nobody. This could be the line in the sand, and I'll make my position clear. I'm on the side with the guns, and not government guns either. Where do you stand on this issue? You in the military, you in law enforcement. Do you trust government enough to allow only them to have guns? Today somebody sent me the words to a song. It was by Paul Revere and the Raiders. It was about the crushing of the Cherokee Nation. It says they took our tomahawk and our Bowie knife. In other words, the Indians were disarmed. And once they were disarmed, they were easily subdued and confined to reservations. I think that Automated Geek sent me that. So you're in a position where you have to trust government to be the only one with guns, and I think they have already proven that this would be a fatal mistake. What we need to do in this country is take away the power. It's concentrated in the hands of a few, and that is a recipe for disaster. That will turn the entire herd into slavery, and slaughter will result from that. The people will eat the grasses in the pastures, and they'll be fattened up for slaughter. No, we need to break up this federal government. Break it up into 50 separate states that cooperate with each other, but no federal government. Federal government is evil, and now they want to take away your guns. Do you like the trends in America today? We are moving toward fascism, Nazism, totalitarian control of the people, while the government is free to commit crimes against all of humanity. The list of war crimes against our past presidents is a mile long. Why aren't there any arrests? Because there's one world government that controls everything. You can call it the Committee of 300 with the Queen at the top. You can call it the Illuminati, the Freemasons, the Bilderbergs. You can call it anything you want, but when war crimes are committed and there's no arrest, not even one, it tells you who's in control. And everybody on the earth must be awakened to that fact. And so each of us should be picking up the microphone, not the gun. Pick up the gun and you're going to get killed. Is there any question about that? Pick up a gun and start killing people, and they're going to consider you the bad guy, and they're going to send a SWAT team to swat you like a fly. You'll be dead, and the movement will still be alive, and I hope the movement will continue without guns, because they have you outgunned. And those guys on the SWAT team just can't wait to kill you. They want to take that shot and take you out. Now, is that smart? Can you think of anything smarter than getting a gun and killing people? That's what they want you to do, because that proves that guns are bad. Spread the truth and you poison the well. We do it without guns. There is no defense for the truth. The enemy is defenseless. You bring the truth to the people and you bring down the evil empire. We all need to get involved in the spreading of truth. It's more effective than bullets, and it won't get you killed until they outlaw the truth. And you know, people are not going to stand for that. If a man pays $4,000 for a gun, and they show up at his door in mass with weapons drawn, that man will surrender that gun, because if he doesn't, he'll be killed. He'll surrender the $4,000 gun, and he will be steaming. It would be much better if you don't even buy the gun, save the $4,000, and spend all your money on your family and the needs that you have, because money is scarce, and it doesn't look like the economy is going to improve. We are going to lose the battle for the Second Amendment, right to bear arms. The government is going to pass that, just like they did the health care bill. The majority of people didn't want it before it became law, and now 100% of the people don't want it because they realize it's a bad idea to put a hypodermic needle in the hands of your government, because they'll be taking your organs. They will have your blood type and your antigens, and they will know exactly who has the liver they need. And they will come to your house and take you to the hospital, take your liver, and leave the hospital, and you'll be there to die with no liver. We condemned China for doing that to their prisoners, harvesting organs. But the things that I see our government doing, turning children into slaves, some are men and they grow up to be assassins, some are girls and they wind up being unwilling child prostitutes for the rich and the powerful. And the CIA recruits them, and they have a pretty good business going. The CIA has another good business going with the drugs, illegal drugs, all kinds. They dominate that market. Don't kid yourself. The CIA is in the drug business. They're trafficking in children. And if you think that they would not stoop to harvesting organs for sale to the rich, you're naive. They will use your tax dollars to buy bullets to kill you. And I think it's time to cut them off. Don't give them any more money. Why should we send money to Washington and have them send it back to our Social Security recipients? I think we should eliminate Washington and say, we will collect those funds and we will pay it to our own citizens. If every state did that, we wouldn't need a federal government to drag us into wars. If Iran is a threat to Arizona, then Arizona teams up with other states who are threatened by Iran, and they vote on whether or not to have a war or to work it out peacefully. But we don't need a federal government to drag us into expensive wars. And we don't need a UN to tell us when it's time for us to go to war. And we don't need a Department of Homeland Security. We want to get rid of them and get rid of the TSA so that we can get on an airplane and fly without being touched. Because nobody believes that they are looking for the real terrorists. Almost everyone knows where the real terrorists are. Almost everyone knows who did 9/11. And it wasn't 19 Arabs with box cutters. It's time to cut off the federal government. Seceding from the Union is a great idea. But many of you would rather buy guns and storm Washington and get your asses shot up. Don't exact the revenge like that. I understand how you feel. I'm angrier than you are. And that's why I'm so determined to solve this problem. I'm not waiting for my congressman to solve it for me. And I'm not going to pretend that if you guys storm Washington and kill everyone in Congress and everyone in the White House and the executive branch, I'm not going to pretend that I'm disappointed to see them all dead. I would like to see them all in prison. That would be more satisfying. I would like to give them a fair trial and put the evidence on the table And I would like to see fair judges decide their fate. And I'd like to see the guilty wind up in prison for the rest of their life. I'm talking about George Bush. I'm talking about Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Condoleezza Rice. I'm talking about Barack Obama and his entire cabinet. I would like to see Hillary in prison. I would like to see a fair trial with the evidence delivered to the courtroom and no shenanigans. I would like to see Obama prove that he's a citizen, because I don't believe he is. And I think if they did a test on his birth certificate like Joe Arpaio did, they'd find out that he committed fraud and that he deserves to go to prison. Instead of going to prison, he's living at the White House, signing executive orders, and the people are out buying guns. Action, reaction. And to me, it's a civil war brewing. There's going to be a tipping point when the people just lose it, and they storm Washington, and they murder everyone, and a lot of innocent people are going to get killed. Taking the guns from the people is the tipping point, I would say. And they are determined to take the guns from the people. And they are so confident that their power is so strong that they'll be able to do it without any trouble. And just in case, the Department of Homeland Security is buying bullets by the billions, and they are not going pheasant hunting. I wonder what is going on in the minds of people. Do they understand that they're going to lose their Second Amendment right to bear arms? Shelling out $4,000 for a rifle is serious business. Do they really think they're going to get a chance to fire any of those bullets? The handwriting is on the wall. All the money you spend on guns will be lost. We know that there's a secret government. We know they control the puppet president, who is an appointee. We know that they have seized control of everything you can think of, and they are prepared for battle. And we know that the people are fed up, and the approval rating of Congress is at an all-time low. And I think that nobody's interested in Romney or Obama. They want Ron Paul. It's very clear to me. They want to end wars. They want to take back the Fed. They want to return to constitutional law. And who's going to win this? The one that's prepared. The one that has control of everything is going to win. They've been working for decades, centuries, to gain this kind of control. They learned from every dictator. They collected all the lessons. They put them all together in one big, gigantic book. And now they're reading from that book. They're avoiding all of the mistakes. And they're seizing power and control of everything. Money is very important, and so is sex. With money and sex, you can control anybody, because it's a money society, and people naturally like sex. And when you add the drugs, there are legal drugs and there are illegal drugs. The recreational illegal drugs get people hooked. And Big Pharma is trying their best to get everybody hooked on legal drugs. You need a drug for everything. There are much better ways to make your body work properly, but these are being suppressed. Silver kills 650 different kinds of bacteria and virus. So those who are selling colloidal silver are lawbreakers. They don't want this out. It might make people healthier. They can't afford that. Big Pharma makes a lot of money. And who owns those companies? Governments own them. 63% of all companies are owned by government. The government owns General Motors. And every single state and every single county has a huge fund. And where do they invest it? Companies. And what does that trend do? It favors legislation that screws the people. And people know about it, and they're angry, and they're buying guns with the idea that they're going to storm Washington and kill everybody. And they don't know that the military and the police are controlled by the enemy. 10,000 people go to Washington to kill everybody, and 100,000 troops meet them and wipe them out. It's a civil war, and I think it can be won if we can talk to the military and the police, and we can win them to our side, if we can make them understand that they will be slaves, that this totalitarian government is moving in one direction, and that is total slavery of everyone. Every transaction you make is recorded, and it's associated with your name. They're tracking you like branded beasts on the cattle ranch. They know everything about you. They have all your emails and all your phone calls. And what do we know about them? They make private phone calls. We don't have privy to them. Nixon recorded his phone calls, and what happened? They became public. And he desperately had to erase 17 minutes in one because he would have gone to prison if it remained. So all of our telephone calls and emails are recorded, and all of theirs are not. Well, Julian Assange came along, and he found their emails, and he exposed them. Now he's the most hated man on the planet. He should be our hero. But since they control what you think about Julian Assange, he's not a hero. He's a criminal. He's a bad guy because he leveled the playing field. They read our emails, we read their emails. Tit for tat. I always liked tit for tat. It seemed fair to me. I think more crimes are committed by people in government on a one-to-one basis, per 100,000. They commit far more crimes than we do, and the cameras should be on them. We should have privy to all of their emails so we know what they're up to. And of course, they're going to say, oh, national security would be jeopardized. It's already jeopardized. You take us into war with countries that we have no business fighting, and you call that national security? Dragging us into wars, impoverishing our country, spending $2 trillion on each war. We've been at war every year since World War II. You think that's a threat to national security? I'd rather gamble on the emails and find out what's really going on among government people. What do we know about their activities? What do we know about Fast and Furious? We know that Eric Holder was selling guns to Mexican drug dealers. What does that tell you about the whole system? It's corrupt. It's rotten to the core. And you think this guy is going to arrest himself? Maybe you think that some of the other people in the Illuminati are going to arrest Eric Holder, their boy, in the White House. They're not going to tell us anything that's true. They're not going to cooperate in any legal way. And even states that don't want Obama on the ballot are going to be forced to put him on the ballot. There's only one candidate that should be on the ballot, and that's the constitutional candidate, and they won't allow him to be on the ballot. They won't allow him to win, and they won't allow the people to vote for who they want. They're going to give us two choices, Obama or Romney, and you pick the lesser of two evils. They control who runs and who wins. And you control which of their two candidates you pick. And it doesn't matter, because if all of you voted for Romney, Obama would still win. Because they haven't decided to change presidents. You can tell when they change presidents, they kill the guy. Obama is doing everything they ask. They're going to keep him. And they have told him, you get rid of the Second Amendment. So he put a team together in the CIA, and they hypnotized a guy with red hair, and they sent him into a crowded theater, perhaps, and then a bunch of other CIA people, trained assassins or whatever, opened fire and started killing people. And now the president is talking about gun control. That's the truth. And there are many witnesses who have come forward and said, I was hypnotized. I was an assassin. Girls have come forward and said, I was a 10-year-old slut for the CIA. And Mickey Rooney and Bob Hope owned me. And Neil Diamond purchased my services. And do you think that these influential people don't want to keep this a secret? Bryce Taylor wrote a book and she told all. And I think she's very courageous because they would have killed her. And they did kill many others. They used them and then they dispose of them like a paper towel. Surrendering your guns to the government is very bad. Don't get me wrong. We need to really move fast to get the truth out. Really move fast. Because once those guns are gone, you're going to be defenseless like the Cherokee who lost the tomahawk and the Bowie knife, their defense. If they know everything about us and we know nothing about them except what they tell us, who's going to be the slave? Who has the advantage? If they track every move we make in every phone call and every email, who's going to wind up the slave master here? They not only can turn us into slaves, but they have turned us into slaves over the years. It is my conviction that government should be the slave of the people, and that's turned all around. And who did this to us? People. People enslaved people. Right? Are you sure it was people? The plan is so elaborate. The number of conspiracies is so vast that virtually everywhere you look, you find another conspiracy. 2,000 different organizations like the Committee of 300, the Bilderbergers Group, Trilateral Commission, the World Trade Organization, the World Bank, the Bank of International Settlements. All conspiracies aimed at control. So the entire system is elaborate. And frankly, I think it's a little bit beyond the intellectual capacity of humans. Look at the botched job they did on 9/11. They weren't very smart and they got caught. Look at the botched job they did with the Kennedy assassination. Oswald was having a Coke in the cafeteria 5 floors below that place where he was supposed to have taken shots with a junk rifle through the trees. And he hit Kennedy in the right temple and the bullet came out the back of his head. How is that possible? Well, there were suicides where the person was killed with a gunshot to the back of the head. Witnesses in the JFK assassination, who the coroner wrote down, died of suicide when they had a shotgun blast to the back of the head. That shows you how much control they have. This is not intelligence when they make a blunder like that. When Robert Kennedy was killed, what was the blunder? Sirhan never got any closer than 3 feet to Robert Kennedy, and 3 of the bullets that were fired between 0 inches and 1.5 inches, and the powder burns from each shot are on Kennedy's clothing and his skin. Sloppy. Then the gun that was used was recovered and it vanished. And 3,000 interviews conducted by the FBI and the LAPD vanished. There are only 301 left. 90% of them vanished. This is sloppy. This is not intelligence. Everyone thinks that the CIA is an intelligence organization. No, it's a mafia. And there's a bigger mafia that owns them. And it's all part of one gigantic network with thousands of organizations which are each a conspiracy. And that's the truth. So the plan is too elaborate for human beings. It's beyond the intellectual capacity of those committing these crimes. And so I suspect that it might be non-human. And I came out with that bold theory and I told a few people about it. And the more I think about it, the more certain I am. But I'm not completely certain. I just think that this is what it is. Who knows better how to enslave an entire civilization of people? I would say it's those who have done it before. Maybe they've done it for 1,000,000 years. I don't know. But I see intelligence that we don't have. I see organization skills that we don't have. And I see this as a takeover of our planet. I'm not asking you to accept my idea, but I am asking you to consider it. Just leave it on the table and consider it, even though you've been brainwashed to automatically reject any story about aliens and UFOs because you don't want to be ridiculed. Well, I would like to break this habit of yours. I would like to remove your brainwashing, if you don't mind. And I would like to leave the alien influence possibility on the table because when you apply it, the whole story makes perfect sense. Who among us would destroy mankind? Aren't we trying to achieve something, get somewhere? Who would destroy our whole civilization? We destroy our own civilization by making slaves of people? Suppose Ronald Rumsfeld was a Nazi and part of the conspiracy that did 9/11. Just suppose for a minute that he's part of this conspiracy. Did I say conspiracy? Yes, conspiracy. 9/11 was a conspiracy. Either way, whether you believe the government's lies or you believe the truth, 9/11 was a conspiracy. The only question is, was it done with 19 Arabs with box cutters, or was it done by the CIA and Mossad? In this case, I'm going to vote for Mossad and the CIA. But suppose that Rumsfeld is a Nazi, and he took a lead role in 9/11, even called out the code to put everyone into motion. The adversary is at the door. It's a matter of life and death now. I think that was the code to the hypnotized people, and I do mean hypnotized. Many, many people hypnotized who played a role. That's why you don't have those people who did the demolitions coming forward. They were all hypnotized to forget that they had a role in this. They found the people, they hypnotized them, and when Rumsfeld said, the adversary is at the door, it's a matter of life and death now, that told all of the hypnotized people that it was on. And everybody manned their stations and carried out this act of murder for the evil secret government. Now suppose Rumsfeld played a lead role in that, just to get the Patriot Act passed, which removes your Bill of Rights. Now, wouldn't his grandchildren live in a world where people have no rights? Why would Rumsfeld do such a selfish thing to mankind? I think the possibility that he's controlled by aliens would make him turn on his own family and enslave his own grandchildren. You know, every war that we're in drains us financially for generations. Do you think the leaders don't know this? When Rumsfeld is out promoting his book, ask him if he is a conspiracy theorist, because I'm dying to hear his answer. He would probably say no. You say, well, what do you call it when 19 Arabs take flying lessons and fail miserably at flying the simplest airplanes, and then somehow muster up the skills to fly gigantic aircraft at altitudes that no commercial pilots can do, fly them into buildings? What do you call that if that's not a conspiracy theory? I'd like to hear Rumsfeld defend that question at one of his book signings. I bet you they would get you out of the room. His security would move you out of the room so fast that you couldn't even say Nazi war criminal. I would also be interested to see if Rumsfeld has figured out that he is under the control of aliens. Do you remember what Phil Schneider said? He had a high-paying job, $500,000 a year. He was building underground cities for the Illuminati. He and about 40 of his buddies that worked together with him were at the United Nations. There was a meeting there, and the tall grays were calling all the shots. The tall grays, not the short grays. The tall grays were calling all the shots. And he said, this is the wrong direction for me, and I'm quitting. And 40 others quit the same day. This is a true story. So before you conclude that people who talk about little green men are kooky, you ought to at least become aware of what Phil Schneider said. Now, Phil Schneider's father was a German submarine admiral. He had his own submarine under the German Navy. And his father came to this country as a Nazi. He was given a new identity, and he became a medical doctor. He didn't go to school for it. They just decided that he was a medical doctor, and that was it. And he faked it. If you want to dig into this and find out about these things and find out if this is the truth, that's fine. My memory may not be perfect, and I may not recall the details exactly, and you're welcome to insult me by telling me that I did not dot an I or cross a T and I made a small mistake. But in general, the tall grays were calling the shots at the United Nations, and Phil Schneider quit. And so did 40 other people the same day. That's a fact. Verify it. It is a fact that Philip Schneider's father came from Nazi Germany. It doesn't make Phil Schneider or his father a Nazi in this country. any more than somebody who works for Obama is a Nazi just because the regime is Nazi. People get sucked up into these regimes, and a lot of good people perhaps were hanged because they did wrong things. And I'm asking you guys in the military and you guys in law enforcement to please have a conscience. And I'm asking those of you who know people in military and those who know law enforcement people to approach them and see if you can reason with them. Are you guys going to fight on the side of the people or on the side of the government? We need your answer now because we are reaching the point of civil war in this country. That's what I feel, and I want a peaceful turnover. I want the military and the police to raise one finger, the middle one, and point it to the Illuminati and say, "Kiss my shorts, we're not going to work for you anymore. This is the end of your reign." Because if they don't act all together, then one guy acts and he gets killed, or his pension is withdrawn and he starves to death. So it's something that we all have to do together. We raise one finger together and we flip that finger up at the Illuminati all together and say, "We're done with you. You no longer control us." The military and the police say, "We're all together, but we're against the oppressors, not the people." But the way it is today, if we don't approach these people in military and police, they're going to be killing us. So when you see Rumsfeld out there, ask him if he's a conspiracy theorist. Ask him what is it, if it's not a conspiracy, that 19 Arabs with box cutters brought down 3 buildings in the World Trade Center complex. Ask Rumsfeld how he thinks building number 7 came down. Ask him at the book meeting, because I'm sure they will get you out of the room. He's not going to stand around and let you ask him why he took a role in that murder of innocent Americans. All of us, even Rumsfeld, are conspiracy theorists. It's just a matter of which one you believe. Now, there was a conspiracy once. It was 1947, and a craft crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. And there was a big cover-up, and we were told that it was a weather balloon that produced Velcro, lasers, and solid-state electronics, among other things. And you know who told us the truth? Philip Corso, C-O-R-S-O. He's a paisano. Philip Corso told us the truth before he died. He wrote a book called The Day After Roswell, after his grandson implied that he was a worthless piece of human garbage and his life was a total waste of lasagna. Philip Corso knew that he was at the center of one of the biggest events of our species. Actually, the biggest event of our entire species. And he didn't want to die a worthless piece of fish. So he wrote a book and spilled the beans. And if you don't know about the conspiracy and the cover-up, then maybe you should stop accusing others of being a conspiracy theorist and apply for a membership card yourself. Because I am a conspiracy theorist, and almost everyone who is alive and still thinking is also a conspiracy theorist. We're all just waiting for you to get on board with us and come into reality finally. Look down at your foot. Is your foot stuck in the mud? Well, there you go. Come up to speed. Because it's costing, figuratively, $100,000 per hour in production costs to make this reality movie, not this video. And we need actors who are up to speed on this set, if I may use the Hollywood figurative way of speaking. Come to reality. If you've been going around calling everyone a tinfoil hat, then maybe you should go get a mirror and I'll just wait here. Okay, got it? Now look in the mirror. Who is wearing the tinfoil hat? That's you, isn't it? Disappointed to know the truth? Have someone slap the shit out of you for being such a fool. You let government tell you what to think? You jerk. Using ridicule, you drove the sheep back into the fenced area when they found a hole in the fence? Take another slap. You deserve it. for being such a fool and letting the government play you like a piano. Those who go around calling other people conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hats, and a lot of other names are playing a role for government. They are driving the herd back into the fenced area because the herd wants to be free. Those who are working for the government deserve a slap. Didn't your mother teach you not to be conned by others? What's wrong with you? When you leave your house, there are cameras everywhere watching you. But who is watching the criminals in government? Nobody. The media used to watch them, and investigative reporters used to tell us how corrupt they were. But the media has been compromised by a conspiracy. The media was threatened with an FCC investigation. They were threatened by an IRS audit. This is using a governmental agency, the FCC, and a private corporation, the illegal and unconstitutional IRS, to control the media and make sure they don't report certain stories. Everyone notices that the news is not what it used to be. It's 100% propaganda today. You never get any real news. It seems to be written to scare you, keep you in fear, and stampede you toward legislation that favors those who own you, enslave you, and control every breath you take. People don't want this. They want to live in freedom. Elections are rigged. We don't really have a candidate in this race. And when I do a video about the election or the puppet presidential candidates, that video gets very few views. And I wasted my time making the video. I believe that many people like the idea of ending the wars and saving $2 trillion on each one, paying off China, being debt-free, and enjoying prosperity and peace in this country. Too bad this country is owned by Europeans. Too bad they send us off to fight the wars so that they can take the oil, and then they send the bill to us for the wars. I think people prefer not to have wars, not to pay for them, not to die in them, and I think that some people are aware that we've been at war every year since World War II. That really uses up a nation's resources. What if we didn't have all those wars? Would we be borrowing money from China? We don't have leaders today. These are all wise guys because they belong to a mafia. They're not leading us out of anything. They're taking everything they can from us, each one of them. They're like Al Gore. They buy into the companies that are going to be making a killing by charging us a tax on the air that we breathe. Carbon dioxide from cars is not what caused global warming, because all the planets are heating up. There's another cause. I'm not sure what it is, but if all the planets are heating up, it can't be cars. That's my conclusion. Al Gore is a liar, and at some point he realized that he was lying. He might have been gullible in the beginning and was set up for this role, but at some point he discovered that he's a liar. Did he divest in this company that he invested in? I don't know. But people ask him, are you invested? Are you standing to make a lot of money? And then he talks and talks and talks and doesn't give us a yes or no. Just keeps talking and talking and talking and won't answer the question. I think the answer is yes. He's invested and he stands to make a lot of money. So who benefits from these wars? A handful of people, like Al Gore. And who pays for them? We do. The rest of us. Why is this a good idea? This is a bad idea. And so we want a candidate who says, I'm going to close down all the wars. We don't need them. That's my candidate. And then his son turns coats on us, says he's going to back Romney, the enemy. That's a dirty trick. It's a dirty trick to have American troops guarding poppy fields so the CIA can dominate the world heroin market also. Now, if you're a soldier in Afghanistan and you discover that you're guarding poppy fields for the CIA and that they have a heroin business worldwide, and you go to your commanding officer and you say, I don't want to fight this war anymore. I don't want to be one of the CIA's pawns. The commanding officer will say, I understand. Just go back to battle and I'll take care of this. The next time there's a mission a dangerous mission where everybody's going to be killed, they send that guy and he gets killed. And that solves the problem. Because you can't have soldiers walking around with this in their mind. They're going to tell other soldiers, and the virus is going to spread, the virus of truth. And when they get home, they're going to be disenchanted with Nazis running the country that they fought for. And you're going to have the FBI knocking on their door and the Secret Service knocking on the door, and you're going to have the sheriff over there arresting them and taking them to a mental hospital because they discovered the truth. They're crazy because the reality that they discovered is not the reality they're supposed to believe in. So it's better if they send the soldier into war and get him killed. So all you guys out there with this idea that you're serving your country, you better check your facts before you enlist. And all of you parents out there who have someone who's talking about going into the military, I think you ought to educate them. Make sure they know the truth before they go. Iraq is about oil and Afghanistan is about heroin, poppy fields, used in the process of making heroin. Ask them if they think that we should lose our right to bear arms as guaranteed by the Constitution. Ask them if they think we should lose the First Amendment right to free speech. Because Brandon Raub spoke out and he was put into a mental hospital forcibly by government. And the police in that case cooperated with the feds. The police should have told the feds, you cannot do this to him, it's unconstitutional. Instead, they showed up in a swarm, took him against his will. American soldiers dying so that the Queen has oil to sell to us. We paid for the war, our soldiers died in the war, the Queen gets the oil, and we get the bill for the oil, and the war, and the funeral. I don't give a rat's ass if the Queen has oil or not. What I want is a release of the suppressed free energy devices that the Queen has kept from us by gaining control of the patent office. There are over 6,000 inventions that have been suppressed, and it's time for people to know the truth about this. We no longer need oil to move our cars around when we have free energy devices that will do that. And we have anti-gravity devices. So imagine being able to get into your car and travel very fast to any city in the United States and not have to pay 1 cent for gasoline. If you know how to do research, look into it. And find out what the insiders have said about the patent office and the way things really work over there. We are being held back by a greedy queen and her minions, like the puppet Obama. The Queen owns and controls the CIA and the FBI, and anyone who works for these agencies is a traitor for serving the Queen. We are not the United States of America anymore. We are the USA Corporation. If you're not aware that the USA is a corporation, then you are also not aware that you are chattel property. Do you know what chattel means? It means the bitch owns your ass. Have someone slap you. Wake your ass up. Now slap the one who slapped you and wake his ass up too. Now you're both awake, go have breakfast. The USA is a corporation and you are all property of the Queen. And if her friend drinks too much and has ruined his liver and your blood type matches, she can take yours because you are chattel property. The bitch owns your ass. And Obama got his pen out and signed an executive order which says he can take anyone, anytime, for any reason, and he can kill them without even accusing them of a crime. And he's already done it. Twice. Oh, but I'm a Sunday school teacher. I'm not a terrorist. That may be true, but your blood type matches the Queen's friend, and her friend needs a liver. You don't own yourself. The Queen owns you. She's royal, you know. Maybe Jesus will save you. Meanwhile, the liver, please. We don't have time to waste. Even an alcoholic friend of the Queen has a higher priority than you do. And the liver belongs to the Queen, so hand it over. As the people learn what that executive order signed by the illegal alien in the White House, as the people learn what that executive order means, they are disturbed to recognize that the Queen can now take your liver and give it to her alcoholic associate, with the accent on shit. You protest. The alcoholic drank too much. He ruined his liver while you took care of yourself. And now you have to give your liver to a drunk? The Queen does not see you as an equal to her, and if she wants your liver, she can take it, because she has great power and you are just a dirtbag who has the misfortune of having the best match for blood type and antigens, and life is over for you. Why is this shocking to you? The Queen has been sending young people off to die in useless wars for decades. She did it because she can make a killing off of the bloodshed by supplying both sides in the conflict, draining the taxpayers who pay for useless wars. Children suffer in these wars, and do you think the Queen gives a rat's ass about kids? She might as well pull out a gun and shoot a child in the face, because her actions have the same effect. Guns kill people, but so do queens. Ban queens or ban guns? Which would you rather ban? Did you ever see any shame on the Queen's face about the wars, about the kids dying? She wants to send our young people now into Iran, as if we don't have enough wars to pay for already. And you can't fight the Queen with guns. She has you outgunned. She has military and police who will do as she orders, because those guys want to get paid. And if you work on them, telling them the truth, winning them to our side, if you approach 2 or 3 of these people a day by making videos and posting them where the police and the military read and watch, you can wake them up. But you won't have forever to do this, because the First Amendment goes also. The Second Amendment and the First Amendment. Right to free speech is the First Amendment. Right to bear arms is the Second Amendment, and they're both slated for extinction, elimination. So if you're going to wake up anybody, you better do it right away. You better learn the skills of making videos and get these videos out, because the military and the police currently support the Nazi regime, and some of them are waking up and realizing they're supporting Nazis, and it's not good for anybody in the future. And if they're ever going to switch, they better do it now and go on the side of the people as quickly as possible. Hopefully, each one of those in the military will tell 5 others every day. Hopefully, we can win these guys to our side, because if they're not on our side, they're going to be killing us. Approach cops when you see them in the donut shop. If a cop can't enjoy a donut without being approached by someone asking him if he's aware that we're under Nazi rule, and that Nazis have in mind to enslave everyone, and you'll be working for half of what you're paid now, you'll be living at half the standard of living that you're enjoying now if you let these Nazis have the kind of control they want. They want everyone extremely poor, because it's easier to control you when you don't have any money. See if you can get the fat cop to put down the donut for a minute and listen to you. I would like to see all cops contemplating this very important issue and making a decision on which side they're going to fight for. The people or the Nazis. The Nazis cannot control the police unless the police believe in them, and we have to undermine that belief. We have to get the police to understand that nobody is going to have a good life under slavery. Nobody. The cops up until now have been brainwashed to think that they are subduing the bad guys, when all the while they were working for the bad guys. Now, it shouldn't be too difficult to get cops to understand that they're working for the bad guys, to get the military to understand you're dying on the battlefield for the bad guys. With the TSA at the airports and the train stations and the bus stations, and soon on every corner, just like Nazi Germany, it's easier for all of us to see the controls that have been put in place to subdue us. And we feel the constriction of the freedoms. And the Second Amendment is next. If they take your guns, the Nazis feel safer. But they are not safe unless the military and the police are still willing to work for them. This is where you have to apply your persuasive efforts, not your guns. You cannot pick up your guns and go after the Queen or her minions. She is insulated from your attack. I'm not psychic, but the brisk gun sales that I see have given me a prophetic vision. In it, the people are an angry mob. They are marching up to Windsor Palace to take out the Queen and slaughter her guards. In this prophetic vision, the people are marching on Washington too to remove the minions of the Queen. The people might find that the Queen and her minions can kill the people with drones. Drones are now weaponized, and government, the secret government, is planning to use them everywhere. And you know who pays for them? Your wages are confiscated from you to pay for them. So the Queen is going to use your money again to kill you. Now I will answer the question, what can we do? Don't resort to guns. Instead, talk to others and help them discover the truth. Ask them questions so that you can learn what they already know. Then point them in the direction of more truth, if you know where to find it. YouTube has a lot of it today. But the world is changing, and I don't see the truth surviving, do you? Those who track you can do it by cell phone, GPS, if you have a GPS in your car. They can even track you with chips that they put in French fries. RFID chips planted in French fries. You eat the French fry, and it becomes part of your system. Here's how it works. You buy a hamburger and an order of fries, and there's a chip in the fries, so you swallow it. It gets lodged in your appendix, or buried in the undigested fecal material that all of us have. Did you know that the average American has 20 pounds of undigested fecal material in his or her intestines? 20 pounds. Now you could lose a radio frequency identification device in that fecal material that's stuck in the intestines. French fries will take that chip right where it is to be implanted, and there are tiny little barbs on the chip, and they can attach to the walls of your intestines, or they can become embedded in the fecal material. And if they put 10 through your system and only one of them stuck, then you've got chip number 77280831, 72523-404-9379. Now, you go through a checkpoint at the airport, and they read that chip, and they ask you your name. And now that number becomes your name. So that chip belongs to you now. They've chipped you. It's done. Do you remember ordering the hamburger and fries and eating them? Probably not. 2 weeks later, you would not remember. You're not required to remember every hamburger you ever ordered or every French fry you ever ate, but there are chips in the fries now. And as soon as you go through a checkpoint, they see the number, and they now associate that with your name. And everywhere you go, they're tracking everything you do. You buy shampoo, they've got a record of it. You bought shampoo. You bought medicine to kill lice on a dog. They know you have a dog. They know that he has lice. They're collecting information on each one of us. And if you go talk to a cop or a military man and you bring your cell phone and you leave it off, they can turn it on remotely and listen to your entire conversation and record it. Now they know that you're working on these soldiers. And if that soldier talks to other soldiers, they know where the virus is spreading to, the virus of truth. If you eat food from a fast food restaurant and you order French fries, and they've chipped the fries, then you get on a jet, they read the chip. You go to a toll booth to pay a toll, they read your license plate, they read your chip, and now they have a car associated with you. So anytime they want to stop you, your license plates will stop you. They have automatic readers. They're tracking every move we make. They got your chip, they've got your face, they've got your license plates, they have your name, they have your social security number, and it's all associated together as one person. And as long as that chip remains attached to your intestines, you are being tracked. But who is tracking government? Nobody. All the control is on you. And in your emails you wrote that you don't like the Queen. Okay. You bought a gun. You're going to go after the Queen. They read your license plates. When you buy a gun, you've got to give them your name. You got a gun and you got license plates and you're on your way to the Queen. They stop you. Where are you going? What are you planning to do? Do you have a gun in the vehicle? Now this is all trouble. It'd be much better if you don't use the gun route. Use the truth route for as long as we have it. And when we don't have it anymore, you can use the whisper route, because the truth is what it's going to take to bring them down, not guns. Once you're on their watch list, you will have a hassle everywhere you go, everything you do in life. You're never going to get close to the queen or any of her minions. If you want your conversations to be private, take the batteries out of your cell phone. You will soon lose your right to speak, your right to spread the truth, your right to bear arms, and you've already lost your right to live because Obama signed the executive order. He can take anyone at any time for any reason, and he can kill them without accusation of a crime. That's all for this session. Thanks for listening.